Welcome back to the channel. Hope you had a good weekend. I had a good weekend. Let's just jump right into it today, shall we? So one of the reasons that my channel exists is because I feel like I have the ability and the willingness and just like a talent, I guess you could say, for not being ashamed of the beliefs that I have. You know what I mean? Like I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of that I believe in giants, like actual real, not Hakeem Olajuwon, like actual giants that were way up there and made us look like grasshoppers. Like I believe that was real in our history. I think we've been fighting giants for a long time, and I have no problem with that. And I know I'm supposed. There are certain things that evangelical leadership over the last few decades has been really good at. I mean, they're bad at a lot of things, but they're good at some things, and they're very good at kind of promoting and teaching this kind of like apologetic stance for some of the embarrassing beliefs of the Bible. And of course, if you're just listening to this, I put those air quotes there because I don't think any of these are embarrassing. But like the embarrassing beliefs of the Bible, like creation or giants or dragons and things like that, Big Eva has taught and promoted and pushed, and they've done a great job at this. Sort of, if you want to believe that, like some of them they just don't even believe. But if you want to believe it, it's kind of like you hold it very tentatively, very like there's no zeal behind it, and you're kind of sorry that you believe it. Like that's something that they've been really good at, and it's kind of like just an attitude of shame that a lot of Christians have about some of their non-respectable beliefs. And I think that we kind of see this in different ways. Like if you remember that that interview that Matt Chandler did with, I think it was Vice. It was one of these pagan organizations, and the whole interview, he's obviously ashamed of his beliefs. Now, good for him. He still believes some of the things he has to believe, and so at least he gets some credit for that. But he's just almost it's almost like he doesn't say it in words, but you can tell, I'm sorry, this is what the Bible says. Like, it's just, that's the attitude that a lot of people have embraced. And I think what we've seen in the last few years is that many evangelicals have taken that attitude with regards to homosexuality. It's like, it's almost like even the most zealous among us, it's like, oh, it's a lost cause. I guess we're all gay now. You know what I mean? And the focus, I think, for a lot of evangelicals is not so much the gay stuff, but more abortion, and rightfully so. I mean, abortion is the biggest travesty that we're engaged in from a justice perspective. I mean, the fact that babies can be killed with impunity is it's just hard to even wrap your mind around it. Like, we use euphemisms for it because we don't. It's just too dark for us to think that in our country, like, baby murder is celebrated. Killing babies is promoted and celebrated and pushed, and it's going to be a fundamental human right at some point in our country, and it's just hard to even think about it. So we use euphemisms for it. But I'm here to tell you that the homosexuality stuff, global homo, and the push for homosexual dominance in our culture, in my opinion, it's not as important as abortion, but it's right there. It's like really close. It's almost the same thing. You should have as much vigor opposing the homosexual agenda as you do opposing abortion. It is an evil of that magnitude, of that order. And I think that if you read the Bible and you just read it, you know what I mean? You're not looking for excuses. You're not looking for, clever sounding ways to get around what it says. If you just read it, you can see how high a position God puts, families and the family unit. In fact, in God's system, in God's governmental system, the family is the primary unit, not the state. The family is. And so the institution of what a family is and how that's put together and how God invented what a family is and what they're supposed to do and the different parts of it, this is fundamental to the existence of a human, of what it is to be a human being. If you're not doing it that God's way, then there's a certain way that you're almost dehumanizing yourself. And the global homo movement dehumanizes people. That's what it does. Homosexuality dehumanizes people. we see the importance that God places on the family from the very beginning. Genesis chapter 1, we know this. God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. And God blessed them. And God said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of heavens and over every living creature that moves on the earth. God, this is written into creation itself. It's one of the focuses of why he created. He wanted to bring male and female together. And why did he do that? I mean, if you listen to evangelical sermons, they come up with all kinds of other reasons why God did that, but they don't focus on the actual reason that God did that. And the actual reason God did that is so that we would be fruitful and multiply. And I remember I heard an evangelical kind of, gay adjacent pastor say that children were not a primary focus, a primary reason for marriage. That's just simply not true. This is what the book of Malachi says. Did he not make them one with a portion of the Spirit in their union? He's talking about marriage, the husband and a wife, the covenant between a husband and a wife. He says, did he not make them one with a portion of the Spirit in their union? And what was God seeking? Godly offspring. What was God seeking by making them one in that covenant, bringing male and female together, husband and wife together in covenant? What was God doing that for? We don't have to guess. The Bible tells us specifically what God was doing that for, that he was doing that for godly offspring. And here's the thing. It's like when you dehumanize yourself and you embrace this homosexual lifestyle, it doesn't end there, because it's such a fundamentally inhuman thing to do. To say, well, I know that that God instituted this unit of government where the whole point was so that we would be unselfish, that we would come together in a covenant, we become one flesh, and then raise godly offspring for God, because that's the whole point of this union, godly offspring. When you refuse to acknowledge that and you want to do your own thing, you think maybe the union has a different point, like, I don't know, expressing your love or something stupid like that. If that's what you think, you're dehumanizing yourself. You're not acting the way a human ought to act. But it's never going to be isolated to that, right? And this is kind of what we're seeing. I don't know. Probably a lot of people in my audience don't watch TV. I don't really watch a whole lot of TV either. But recently, the Mets are in the playoffs, and my father purchased a YouTube TV plan, and he wanted to share it with us so we could watch a few of the Mets games that were for the playoffs. In any case, so we still have that. And I was just thumbing through it the other day just to see what was on. And there's a Christmas movie on, so I popped it on, like a kid's Christmas movie, but it's still something that an adult could enjoy. I popped it on, and it was just me there. It wasn't like the kids weren't there or anything. But it was a kid's movie, and it went to commercial break, because that's what TV is like. That's why nobody watches TV anymore. It went to commercial break, and if you guys have watched sports, then you know that there's propaganda in the commercials, and it's pretty intense, right? Like when you watch like a football game or something, you have to always endure just tons of gay propaganda in the commercials in between, snaps. For kids shows, the propaganda is like 10 times more intense. And maybe you don't know that because you probably don't watch TV. And if you watch TV, you don't watch TV with your kids. I didn't know this until recently. The propaganda for kids shows in the commercials, the gay propaganda promoting unions that cannot bear fruit, even though God says the union is in order to bear fruit. Promoting unions that fundamentally dehumanize you. Even though God obviously, created the world so that you could honor him, right? And be a human fully in honoring him. This is promoted to your children way more than it's promoted to you. Way more intensely, way more overtly, and even more disgustingly, in my opinion. This is a major issue because it doesn't ever end there. It doesn't ever end with like, okay, well, I'm going to have sex with my boyfriend, and that's just kind of where my immorality is going to end. If there's any lesson that we can get from the city of Sodom and Gomorrah, it's that it doesn't end there. It's that the depravity, once you dehumanize yourself, you dehumanize yourself, and then there's no semblance of humanity left if you let it go unchecked. If God doesn't do something to restrain the evil, there's nothing to stop it. There's no brakes on that train. Once you've rejected God at a fundamental point, and my argument here is that the gay marriage thing, that's a fundamental point of thumbing your nose at God, at middle finger at God. That is a complete rejection of God when you embrace something that is so fundamental to what it is to be a human. There's no brakes on that train. Every evil under the sun will be promoted. Every evil under the sun will be pursued. And so we need to nip that in the bud. There is everything good about standing against every single form of the homosexual agenda. Every single form. Not only should they not have the right to get married, not only should they not have any kind of conjugal rights whatsoever, because no such thing could exist. I mean, for it to exist, God would have had to invent it, and God invented no such thing. Not only should they not have that stuff, but homosexuality should be suppressed by the force of the law. Absolutely it should. That is something there's everything good about that. There's everything holy about that, everything righteous about that, everything just about that. And so not only should we be opposing the advances that the homosexual agenda has made, but once we've done that, we should also suppress homosexuality with the force of the law according to the law of God. There's everything right about that, and you should not be ashamed of it. You should not. And so the whole idea of like Republicans gathering to celebrate gay rights, Trump saying we're going to fight for gay rights, all of that is at the level. I don't think it's quite at the exact same level, but it's right there. Here's abortion, and here's global homo. It's a fundamental issue. It's not a small issue. It's not, it's just one, win some, you lose some. It's not like that. It is so fundamental to what it is to be a human, to honor Christ, to do any of these things, that it has to be fought with the same zeal, the same vigor that you would fight against abortion. It should be a litmus test. If you're pro-global homo, that should be a no-brainer. You don't vote for someone like that. If you're pro-gay rights, that should be a no-brainer. You don't vote for someone like that. There's everything right about that. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Nothing at all. Doesn't matter how much the movies that you watch shame you, the commercials that you watch, your friends, your family. It doesn't matter if they think you should be ashamed. There is nothing shameful about doing what God says. Nothing. In any case, that's really all I have to say today. Sorry for the serious video, but sometimes you have to do these kind of things. I couldn't believe when I saw the commercials that were promoted to children. I just could not believe it. Maybe I'm just naive. Maybe I just didn't know what was going on. I admit I didn't. I don't watch TV. It's gross, bro. It's gross. In any case, hope you found this video helpful. God bless.